welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. You got Luke and Kyle here. We are excited to have another great episode. It's near the end of the quarter. We've got an excellent guest coming on later. The Olympics are just around the corner. Of course, I'm going to talk about that. But we've got a lot going on here, Kyle. First off, did you take my advice? Did you watch any of the Olympic trials? There's still a little bit going on, but did you catch any from last week?
There is playoff hockey. There is college baseball. There is tennis. There is multiple things I could watch besides that. Basketball.
You're
baseball.
absolutely correct. There are a lot of unimportant things that happen in the world. But what I asked was, did you actually prioritize things that are going to improve your life?
When I was going through the guide
I
saw that go, I just kept scrolling. I kept going down.
Hey, it's okay. Not everybody's perfect.
Not everyone's as cultured as you are.
That's true. That's true. You don't have to tell me that. But anyways, I'll fill you in on a couple things here. So obviously it was fantastic. A lot of great things happened during this time, but a couple notable events. A lot of great things happening on the swimming side. I'm a little biased. I do love the swimming side, being a former swimmer myself. A couple American records broken there by a couple folks. Spin over here to the track side, though. Somebody I was very impressed with. So Allison Felix, I think most people know her name that have any sense of culture, that is. Do you know who Allison Felix is? You ever heard the name?
Is she the one that won the 100-meter sprint? I don't know. There was someone.
Anyways, so Allison Felix has been. She qualified. What's very notable? Okay, she's a class act. First off, absolutely fantastic athlete. One of the greatest of all time. I don't say that lightly, but seriously, for women's USA track, she probably has the best resume, hands down. But she qualified for her 5th Olympics at this Olympics.
So that's.
She just had a baby, not terribly long ago.
20 years?
Yeah, well, I mean, probably like 16 years because you figured you start and So 16, well, I guess 17 years because of 5th year here. But yeah, she qualified for her 5th Olympics. She medals in all of them. In the 400-meter dash, she'll also run the 4x400 relay. So she'll actually have 2 races there. But very excited for her. She looked great. And then obviously. But what's interesting about this Olympics is I feel like, and this is true, definitely true on the swimming side, definitely true on the track side, there's a lot of new blood that's coming into it, right?
And what a perfect timing, too. Everyone's kind of coming out, everything's opening up, everyone's either vaxxed or not.
So I think, you have a couple of things. You had a 5-year stretch there, and I think a lot of folks that were probably towards the tail end of their career are being pushed out, and that young money's coming in, right? Phelps isn't going to be there. He retired before. He kind of, he doesn't have to do anything, but you've got a lot of those, big names that aren't there anymore. And I think a lot of this new money's going to come in. But anyways.
Hopefully,
yeah, we'll see. But transitioning away from that, getting back to the logistics side here. So we talked last week about FedEx.
Called them out. FedEx.
What did they do? Give us the summary.
They're just making some business decisions and decided to cut off the bottom 1,400 customers. And naturally,
we're not really sure how they actually defined bottom 1,400, if it was by revenue, if it was by profit.
I mean, we could probably make a fair assumption that a good old college try was probably the less profitable hard lanes that were kind of outside of their network.
They had some big dogs in that 400 too.
So because what happened? If you're afraid of what's that phrase? If you're
don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
But
if
apparently
you're afraid
FedEx
of heat,
thought
stay
they
out
didn't
of the
really
kitchen,
need all of it.
All of that. So what happened? Well, big old Lowe's, big old Home Depot decided, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? We give you so much more money.
Excuse us. We aren't part of that group. You better take us out of that group there.
Cliff notes. This is what so anecdotally, we've been, one of our writers interviewed some people at Lowe's, and they had expressed their concerns with them taking off that 1,400 customers.
Such a nice way of you to say that. They expressed their concerns. I'm sure that's exactly how they phrased it.
And so what happened almost instantly is that the individual rep from FedEx said, oh, well, we'll graciously give you back 50% that we just cut off.
50%. Look at us. We're so nice.
We're sorry. You know what? We'll give you that back. But no, that's so funny because it's like, we're coming out, we're making these big rash decisions, and then what just happened? Well, I can just complain. I can pull a little Karen out there and just say, and you're going to give me back my lanes.
But think about this. Think about what time we're in on the logistics side of things, right? And Phil, who's going to come on here in a minute, is going to tell us a little bit about this. But think about how crazy the market is for somebody like FedEx to literally say, no, we don't want your business. That's how crazy the market is right now.
Yep.
And they're saying no to companies like Home Depot and Lowe's. Like this isn't, like mom and pop surf shop down the street, although I'm sure there were some included in that. Like these are big dogs like that they're saying no to.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it every week is demand is super high.
Oh,
there is so much demand right now and supply is not really coming into the market. So what does that do? It puts the drivers in, of course, the driver's seat to be making these decisions. And so now that you're able to have kind of the pick of the litter, you're going to want to be in these more dense lanes. So it makes sense why they did it. Now, did they do it the right way? I don't know. Who am I to judge? But like, yeah, you just flipping on your decision kind of shows a little bit about like, okay, it's not really that set in stone. You can, if you have some power, you can kind of pull that leverage.
It makes you wonder probably, and I'm just guessing here, I don't know, I wasn't involved in the decision, but probably somebody was looking at everybody's a spread, they're looking at a spreadsheet, right? They see all these unprofitable lanes or customers. They're not really dictating, okay, it's this customer or that customer. And they're like, okay, these ones aren't running right. Let's just swipe all these ones out altogether. Rather than looking at, are there ways to make them work or something like that? I'm guessing that's probably what
we talked about Brad Stewart last week about, you as a business owner, you especially for a publicly traded company, you are trying to make the best decision for your company.
Right.
So divesting, investing, trying to pick and choose what is the best for your company. And so clearly this was probably a good, I mean, it probably increased, by the numbers, it probably increased their operating ratio, their utilization was enhanced, all those things that carriers love to benchmark and look at. It probably hit.
It is interesting that they're coming back and taking some of the lanes so that they're only going back to 50% capacity or volume, which really leads me to believe that like it must have been really bad freight for them that they didn't want. But anyways, we've got a great guest coming on here in a minute. Okay, so Phil Schmidbauer, the Senior Director of Analytics and Solutions for ODW Logistics and Transportation, is going to be joining us here. Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, we're living the dream. It's hot, and it's hot here. That's for sure. We're definitely in the thick of summer.
Although this morning was quite nice, I might add.
It's been great today, man. Nice weather today.
Yeah, Luke's normally a skinny jean and shoe guy. He's a flip-flop and shorts guy today.
I'm a flip-flops and shorts guy today. It's summer. I got to flip. The jeans are off all summer. We're flip-flops and shorts until September.
But we're just out of COVID, so it's waist up. That's all that matters. All that matters. No, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. So give us a little bit of background on yourself. How'd you end up at ODW and kind of what your focus here in the analytics?
Yeah, so I've been at ODW almost 6 years now, and I large background in 3PL. I've worked for a lot of 3PLs in the past. Worked at a grocery chain for a little while. I've been largely involved in transportation my entire career. Started out a lot in automotive, and I was actually calling on ODW prior to working here. I worked at XPO Conway right before the XPO purchase, and I was calling on them, and we had a need at ODW for supply chain analytics and really network study, understanding where our customers needed to be and distribute from and what their strategy was. So they had a big customer they had just pulled in, and one of our largest customers that we still have today, and they needed a supply chain study done, which is work I've done in the past. So it's been awesome. I've loved being here at ODW. Great team we work with, and so I just kind of worked my way into a role where I did analytics and solutions for our customers.
That's great, Phil. It's awesome here. So what's been, from your perspective, you've seen obviously a lot of changes kind of being in this role. There was a 2017, 2018 volatility, the down years of 2019, and then whatever the heck we're in right now. What has been your process, right? Obviously, data is really important for everybody, and we're in a very fragmented market. Right? How do you go about even attempting to answer questions of like what's going on right now?
Yeah, it's been tough. There's been a couple customers we've done some supply chain studies for, and generally I tell people like if I'm looking at a year's worth of data, I can that'll give me understand your seasonality and fluctuations. But it's been crazy looking at people's data because you're trying to back out and understand what part of this is due to COVID, what part is not. We've got some very diverse customers and been very lucky over the past year and a half to 2 years because we've had some customers that, they make plexiglass. So you can imagine through COVID, like their demand went through the roof. So when I'm doing modeling or just trying to understand the transportation market, it's been tough, but we always try to use data. And you can look back and you can try to normalize some of the data, but that's the toughest part, is making data-driven decisions when your data is all over the place. So, I think, as you guys know, we've used the FreightWaves data and try to help that make some sense of the marketplace and where it's going, not only where it's been, but where it's going as well. So it's not an easy task.
Yeah. I think it's one thing too, even if you see data that's telling you a certain story, sometimes it's tough to even just digest it and be like, surely that can't be the case. I remember when COVID was happening, we were starting to see just, some of the volume numbers, the demand numbers in SONAR. It was like, really? Is that true?
Yeah,
right. Is that really the case? There was
initially we all thought, I think was it May last year, where things just went through the floor and carriers were moving freight for whatever it was. And all of a sudden June just went through the roof, because we all expected, volume to go through the floor. And you look at, Lowe's as an example, Home Depot, all of a sudden everybody's in line. They're not working anymore or whatever. And all of a sudden they're in line at Lowe's and Home Depot buying home supply projects. And it was crazy. And you're right, you can't really trust all the data.
No, that's crazy. And so how have you adapted to not only your more transactional business in those data-driven decisions and your managed trans? Like, what is similar and what is different when you're trying to convey a message to what's going on to those two styles of customers?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is using the data to tell the story to the customers. You've seen a flip as well on dedicated. A lot of times the spot market used to be a lot more beneficial for people to buy freight on the spot market. And you've been seeing this trend, and it's just accelerated, that a lot more people are moving towards trying to get dedicated pricing. So we try to use the data to help people help customers understand, look, here's what's happening in the marketplace. I know you don't like the idea of paying X amount of dollars on this lane, but this is what's been happening on that lane, and you're probably better off just committing to get capacity. You guys were talking about Lowe's and how FedEx has just decided to shut them off. Like, it's not about how much can I pay for a truck these days. There's times where you're just not going to get capacity no matter what. So there's other things you got to look at than just paying for it. So really our strategy is trying to talk to customers, understand the different types of business they have, whether it's a more dedicated or whether we're going to be on the spot market. A lot of things we try to focus on is, if you're going to buy a truck, make sure that it's full, right? If you've only got 20 pallets on a truck and there's room for more, how do we optimize that? Maybe put more freight on that. So our focus for our customers is really optimizing not only the tactical part of their supply chain, but strategically, are you a good shipper to go into at our distribution centers? Are we treating carriers, loading them when they get in there, not holding them forever? So there's a lot of things you can look at in being a better shipper for the carriers as well.
Yeah, because it's a carrier's game right now. And so how much does maybe even lead time play a factor into that? Do you try to play in okay, well, we're looking at benchmarks here for, you giving your customers or your carriers this much time to actually execute this load, but you're giving them a portion of that? Or do you play with those kinds of numbers? Or what strings do you have at your disposal that you usually like to bring up?
Yeah, lead time is one. We do a lot of retail shipping, so good luck getting retailers to give you more lead time. But for us, it's about planning, having the inventory available with our customers. We talk to them all the time. When we don't have the inventory in the distribution center, we can't optimize and plan accordingly. There's other things looking at, like when you're shipping certain lanes, right? Are you going to try to move a guy out to California to where he's going to be sitting the entire weekend? So your Wednesday, if you're going from Columbus to California, shipping on Wednesday is going to be totally different than shipping on a Thursday or a Friday for a Monday delivery. So a lot of it is just when you're shipping to certain destinations. Are you holding drivers over? It's all about making it efficient and for drivers to want to run those loads. So all of those things are definitely things we look at and talk to customers about. So we're constantly on the phone asking a customer, hey, can we ship this early? Can we ship it later? It's going to save you money, as well as, can you get it loaded right away?
That's a good point, Phil. Something that we were talking about earlier before the show was, you guys take a lot of pride in being able to, to help de-risk your customers, right? And I think that's a big focus point today, right? Like, how do you separate yourself from everybody else that's out on the market, right? How do you show value to your customers? And I think being able to show them how you de-risk them, right? Nobody wants their prices to go up. We get that. Everybody wants to save money, but sometimes that's not the reality. Sometimes you do have to pay more. But if you can find a way, like if the market's up by 30% and your customers have experienced 15% of that, that's a big win, right?
Yeah, so we use data to put metrics together for all of our customers. So, we'll look at cost per pound a lot, cost per case, just different ways to measure their total cost, right? And so I kind of like to break somebody's supply chain up into 3 different parts of the strategy. The first part is, are you distributing out of the right location? So network wide, are you set up right to service your customers? And then there's a tactical piece of it of, are you optimizing your freight going out the door? So sometimes I'll see customers where they will ship 2 shipments to the same customer one day after the next, and it's 2 half truckloads or two smaller LTLs that could have been combined as one. And then the last part of it is then sourcing. Once you optimize your network on a tactical basis, day-to-day basis, then are you sourcing properly, right? So we've got customers where we're looking at measurements and we see that transportation rates are up 53% year over year, but their cost per pound or cost per case is only up 12 or 13% year over year. And so we look into the different factors. It can be shipment size, it can be length of haul. And a lot of it is just we're optimizing better. So we'll find that we're putting more freight on each of the truckloads. And so we build dashboards for our customers to really help explain in our customer business reviews why they're seeing the changes in their cost structure that they are seeing. But a lot of times people say, well, my cost is going up. And so we try to use data to show them, yeah, but it's only going up at 15% when it could be going up at a 53% rate. So there's a lot of things going on in the supply chain. And it's really about data and educating your customers on what it means.
I love that, Phil. I think that's a great point. Folks, let's go ahead. I've got a chart here. Let's throw this up on the screen for everybody to see. I love this chart here. I think it tells a good picture. So, so this is that blue line that you see there. That's a 1-year chart of specifically van contract rates over the last year. So you can see they've increased right at 30%. Spot rates have increased significantly more than that. So this is just for van contract rates. So we've seen an increase of 30% just from 1 year ago today. And that green line, I like overlaying it with that because it kind of tells the story as to why. And it's, so we've seen a 35% increase over the same period of time, that green line, in dry van freight volumes or tenders. So, I mean, obviously the demand is just going up. That's sucking up that capacity, causing those contract rates to continuously be negotiated higher and higher, and it looks like they're pushing higher and higher. Spot rates we've seen be much more volatile than this, but it is amazing. Like, you don't see contract rates go up that much, like not 30% in a year. And it's even more if we go back to where they hit a lower point in like April and May of last year.
Yeah, it's really interesting to look at this because you see these little bumps. So it's had a natural rise. It's not as aggressive as the green line, which is demand. And so you see these big spikes, and naturally on the spot market, you'll see the rate per mile actually flow with that almost directly.
Right.
And whereas this, you actually see it in time frames. And interestingly enough, what we had a guest on probably about a few months ago, and it's all about trying to figure out what's the latest, what can you actually relate to? And Phil, I think you brought that up, is like trying to educate your customer. And so do you give like the most realistic thing to relate this to is actually probably March and April of this year? Or where do you try to set your benchmark of like, hey, here's the new normal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know what the new normal is right now, or that we really have a good benchmark, but we kind of show like a running the last year. Here's year to date. Here's what we've seen year to date, and we kind of take a look at that. It'll be interesting to see we're not even really sure what's going to happen if more people start to get back to work instead of getting paid to stay home. We kind of see how things open up a little bit. Hopefully, manufacturers can start to hire. I mean, people can't find employees right now. Right. So there's a lot of demand out there, but people can't find employees. Gas stations are running out of fuel, and it's not because there's not fuel. It's because there's nobody to drive the fuel to the station. So I'm kind of optimistic that maybe as we get people back to work, hopefully that maybe some of this will loosen up and people can keep up with some of the demand. But I mean, it's been somewhat steady over the past couple of months, but I don't know what the new norm is. I still don't know that anybody can tell.
With your exposure to retailers, how much of the conversation has been around like inflation or trying to look at what is the risk of not only us not having employees, but transportation costs, product costs are going up, and now there's more demand for employees. So now maybe my cost for a normal employee has gone up.
Yeah, I mean, people, the pay grade that people are having to increase rates in order to pay people. I hear stuff on the radio all the time. Local manufacturer looking for 22, 25, paying $22 an hour for starting manufacturing wages, right? Warehouse people are competing in that same range. Driver wages are going up because of all that. So it's, everything is going up right now from a price standpoint.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think we saw, what do we see from US Express? I think like 2 months ago or something along those lines, like a part-time driver they vetted that said would make about $75K a year for a part-time driver, which is just
maybe
crazy.
We should negotiate higher wages.
Yeah, we should. Clearly, there's a hot demand for co-hosts on with Sonar. We should actually bring that up. No, that's hilarious.
Like Phil told us, it's just
it is what
straight from the man of data.
Market demand.
That's right, market demand. No,
I mean, ODW's hiring if this ends up being your last show. Just
who knows? George might kick us off air just because of that. It's a flex, so we might be calling you.
He's our secret #1 fan.
He is our secret #1 fan. President of the company, so he can't ever seem to be too impressed with what the two knuckleheads sitting up here do, but secretly, he loves us.
No, that's perfect.
At least that's what we tell ourselves.
I know we're kind of wrapping this up here a little bit, but tell us a little bit about where people can reach out to you and kind of that specialty that ODW has.
Yeah, so we're a full supply chain suite. So ODW Logistics, we have warehousing and transportation, and also fleet services as well. So you can reach us at www.odwlogistics.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Phil Schmidbauer. And really, we just focus on middle tier customers, supply chain suite. And like I said before, optimizing the supply chain and looking at, are you distributing from the right points? Then the daily tactical optimization of your loads, and then sourcing the best. And so we're just a consultative approach to customer service with our customer supply chains.
That's fantastic. That's great stuff, Phil. Phil, thanks so much for joining us here today. All right, and it was a pleasure to have you.
Hey, to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Take care, Phil. Great guy. He's dropping knowledge.
The well of wealth that we are pulling from week after week of just hitter after hitter.
I know. Absolutely crushing it. And there's so much wealth and knowledge there that we have to pivot to the other side of the spectrum where we're about to react to some TikToks. So it's just, you got to balance it out.
Hey,
you can't
yin
have
and yang. You got to have a flow of both. And it's funny because our people behind the scenes here are telling us that we were George's second favorite show.
Yeah.
That hits the heart a little bit
that hurts.
to people in my ear. That was a little backhanded compliment. But no, ODW is great. I was very fortunate that I got to work with them pretty much through the life cycle of getting them onboarded, and they've just taken it and ran.
Yeah.
So, what have you done?
Still trying to figure that out. If anybody out there is interested in Sonar and you want to save my month, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. Again, Luke Falasco on LinkedIn, lfalasca@freightwaves.com. I bake great cookies if you need incentives. That's a lie. My wife does, but I'll rebrand it as myself. Anything. I'll mow your lawn for you. I'm getting desperate now.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. I'm not above it. I'm not
below it, not above it.
Definitely not below it.
TikTok time.
Yeah. Anyways, TikToks. Let's see what we got here. I believe the title, if I read correctly, was Weird TikToks. I don't know what that means. Here we go.
Yeah, that's weird. Oh, we know her.
Do we?
I can't breathe. My entire
Wasn't ready for that.
It's just, she's wearing the tie. Tony Hawk.
Do a kickflip, dude.
Do a kickflip, dude. I wasn't ready.
Avril Lavigne? No? Not ringing a bell?
I know who Adam Levine is.
Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Avril
She's
Levine.
wearing the tie.
What?
She's wearing the tie. Tony Hawk.
Say Adam Levine?
No.
Oh,
God. Luke.
I'm just gonna see myself out.
Anyways. Oh, Luke, look.
Debate about what length men's shorts should be, but the fact is, all of these are wrong. There's only one acceptable length, and it's ankle-level jorts. Cover up, whore.
Oh, what movie was that guy from?
Men's shorts should be.
I was looking at this bottle of ketchup, and the featured recipe on the back is for pad thai, which makes total sense. I mean, authentic Vietnamese pad thai isn't the same without Heinz ketchup. Anyway, my therapist told me that I need to stop letting little things like this bother me so much, so I'm just gonna let it go.
Thank you for calling the Kraft Heinz Company Canada Consumer Center.
Don't you think they should have chosen like meatloaf or something? Just because there's so many recipes that use ketchup.
Right. Honestly, sir, I'm not really sure.
It's like if you bought a can of coconut milk and then you look at the back and there's a recipe for beef Wellington.
Right. No, I totally see where you're coming from. So what I can do for you today is I can pass this information you've given me off to our recipe division.
You guys have an entire division for this?
Even though you know it's staged, it's quite wonderful.
Well,
still.
first of all, that was significantly longer than what I feel like the average time length is for TikTok. Two, the amount of dedication should probably get this guy hired somewhere in sales.
That's
because
true.
This guy went above and beyond, did his research, found the contact information. FreightWaves is hiring 37 open positions. And we found out he's in Canada. Secretly the nicest guy in the world.
Maybe he could save my month and help sell SONAR for me.
At Everyday Alex, help Luke, lflaska@freightwaves.com.
Come on, I need all the help I can get.
Oh, jeez.
No,
well,
that's true.
Those were actually, I had not seen any of those TikToks. So shout out to our team for getting some new blood in the system because I've been watching TikToks.
We're gonna need some Olympic TikToks or whatever when all that stuff happens. Just letting you know.
No, but
so what do you mean no?
Probably not.
But maybe.
But maybe. So, but
we don't need to talk about that at all. For those wondering, the person in my ear, Adam Levine or whatever.
Avril,
whatever. Okay, it's all the same thing.
All right.
Goodness.
All right, well, let's wrap this bad boy up.
Okay. Been a great show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, live, 3:30 p.m. Luke and Kyle discussing nothing but the best and greatest freight data that you can get.
Will FedEx give back more lanes? Who knows? We'll see.
Or will they take away more? We'll find out.
Next week.
Next week. See you then.